the sales jobs by industry. So you got number one, direct sales. Okay, direct sales is a call center. Usually you're looking at 25 to 75 grand. You're selling like household products or timeshares. Requirements, nothing. Anyone can get hired. Some companies that have good direct salesmen or Triton Technologies or 24/7 In Touch. This is the highest level of direct sales. So these are guys who make their living from selling at home. If you're a good salesman, you can get hired with one of these companies and sell their products from your home as long as you can close. Job description is usually selling mid-range products and services to customers. Deals are one-offs, so there's not a lot of customer service. And usually in a call center or, as I said, some commission-only companies let skilled closers telecommute. And they can do this because they're not paying you salary. Number two, capital equipment. Channel is usually B2B. It's a hybrid or outside sales job. You're looking at 50 grand to 200 grand a year. Usually B2B companies are large corporations. You're selling chemicals or office equipment or industrial supplies, stuff that's expensive, that has a long sales cycle. Usually they require you to have a BA. So this is the one place where your university degree is actually going to be useful. And companies that, some examples would be like Canon, that's selling printers or whatnot, and Pitney Bowes, another example, selling office equipment. Generally, you're going to need in-depth knowledge of your product. It's going to be outside sales based on a territory. You're going to have a territory that you cover as opposed to going cross-country. And you can make some real dough doing this. Medical guys and dental guys make a lot of money. And and a lot of these guys are under 30. You're going to be selling into like department heads of hospitals, institutions, branch managers, purchasing managers of large corporations. You're going to be dealing with decision makers and people that have access to a lot of money. This is a great place for you to aim if you're coming straight out of university and you can present well, because you don't need a lot of, yes, you need expertise on the product, but you can learn all that on the job. You don't need a technical background. For technical background, companies that require that, this is number 3 here, is technical sales, okay? And that's also B2B. It's also hybrid sales or outside sales, but you can make more money in technical sales than you can selling capital equipment. So salary you're looking at is like 75 grand to 400 grand plus, like real money. Usually it's a large corporation, and the kind of stuff you're selling would be like IT, logistics, aerospace, weapons, software, stuff that you actually need a specialized degree in your field. They don't let just anybody sell this stuff. You need to have the technical and, you need the technical degree, the technical intelligence, and you need the people skills. So that is a rare combination of guy. That's why they pay so well. If you do have those technical skills, and you've got an IT background or something like that, if you can combine that with personal skills, you can make a shit ton of money. So common companies would be like Boeing, AMD, IBM, Lockheed Martin. And the way your job would look is it's similar to capital equipment, but you need more formal training and you need to work in collaboration with the tech guys in your company. So basically they can't just hire any retard off the street to sell IBM mainframes. You got to be a smart motherfucker. Longer sales cycles, and that means you need to be a better relationship salesman. And basically it pays well because, as I said, you've got the combination of people skills and tech skills. And one good advantage of selling tech is it's a lot easier to keep your customers because there's so much friction to switch providers. Like if you're selling software or if you're selling like a CRM, it is an absolute pain to switch your company's software. Okay, it's horrendous. It takes years to do. So if you sell them on this really high friction transition software that is an absolute pain in the ass to change, you're going to have those guys for at least 3 to 5 years, even if you're not managing them at the highest level. So that's a big advantage. Number 4, insurance. So insurance is one of the rare industries where you can be selling B2C or B2B. And it comes in a variety. It can be inside sales, hybrid sales, outside sales. You can make anywhere from 50 grand to 300 grand. And it can be an SME or a large corporation. Products and services you're selling would be life and health insurance, automotive, or property and casualty. Usually for the larger firms, you're gonna need a BA. Not always, but you're gonna at least need your industry designation, your insurance industry designation, whatever that is. Some examples are AIG, Allstate, Travelers. These are massive companies, some of the biggest in the world. So they've got an absolute ton of money, but it doesn't always filter down to you. So if you're a personal lines broker, basically it's your job to cold call potential buyers and tap into your family contacts to get them to buy personal policies, life and health insurance. A lot of the times you might have to start off as a cold caller or an assistant booking meetings for a guy who's already successful. The good thing is, as you get more successful, you can have your own cold callers. But the insurance broker, you're basically a full stop shop. Okay, you're going to be responsible for building the book from scratch and maintaining your book of business. It's rare where you're going to come into a job and take over a book of business, but if you're lucky, that might be possible. But you should aim with the realization that you're going to have to build your book from scratch. Generally, you're going to be reselling policies or working directly for a major corporation. It's different where I was in Canada, and it's different. This is an industry where it's going to be very different if you're in Australia or the US or Canada, but generally it's the same. You're either going to be selling personal policies like life and health, or you're going to be selling to businesses in property and casualty. In general, you want to get into P&C if you can, because as always, B2B, there's more money. Like if you're selling insurance on office buildings, there's a lot of money to be made in commercial insurance. Okay, a lot of money. Those are the guys who are doing the over $300,000. Takes a long time to close those deals, but there is really good money. Now you can be working for a large company, but that's not necessarily. Some of the high-end boutique insurance shops can pay you really well as well. But as always, I would probably try and go for the large corporation first. And if you can, get into commercial insurance right out of university. They are looking for good-looking, presentable white kids with a degree. If that's you, then do your best to get into commercial insurance. Number 5, recruiting. This is usually B2B. Technically you're selling to the consumer, but you're also selling to businesses. You're recruiting services to businesses, and you're trying to bring on clients the clients are your services, but you're selling your service to businesses as well. So you're selling both B2B and B2C in some ways. This is usually an inside sales job. $50,000 to $150,000 is what you can expect to make. These are usually much smaller shops. There are very few large recruiters that are worldwide. You've got Robert Walters and Hudson Group, but these are rare. Usually you're going to be working for a boutique, and you're going to be selling either like staffing solutions, like temp workers, or on the higher end, you're going to be selling executive recruitment. Job description is going to look like this. You're known as a headhunter, and you get paid on behalf of companies for placing employees with them. Usually you get a percentage of an employee's first year salary. So my buddy worked in mining, recruiting in Canada, and he would get, if he placed a successful C-suite candidate, he'd usually get 40 grand on average for that deal. Usually that's how it works. The recruiting agency specializes in certain industries like engineering or sales or mining or finance, industries that make good money, and they specifically stick to that particular industry. In general, it's a high call volume industry, and you've got two different targets to sell. You've got companies that are looking for employees and employees looking for companies. Shitty recruitment firms will take any employee and just like spam blast your resume. Okay, you'll notice this if you're applying for sales jobs. This is what recruiters are going to do. The shitty ones. The good recruitment firm is gonna get guys whose resume is not on the market. They're gonna tap into their contacts of C-suite executives, and they're going to be able to poach guys who are already working for someone. So the guy who's out of a job is much lower value than the guy who already has a job. Companies would ideally rather hire someone who is already a high-level executive as opposed to someone who got fired and is now looking for a job. Okay, so the best companies are going to be able to pick people off who are already working somewhere else. That's why they're called headhunters. And in general, those are going to be the best paying jobs, the executive recruitment firms. Number 6, financial services. The way this looks is it's either B2B or B2C. It can be inside sales or hybrid. You can start as low as $40,000 and you can go up to over $1 million. The best brokers and advisors in America make over $1 million a year. So this has the highest potential of any sales job and can run the gambit from small to mid-sized enterprises to large companies. Stuff you're going to be selling, usually financial planning services, commercial currency, investment advice. Again, financial services runs the gambit of low paying to high paying to all types of industries and products and everything in between. Usually you're going to need a BA, especially for a large company. And a lot of the time you're going to need an industry designation like financial planning or investment advice. And a lot of the time those are not fly-by-night weekend courses. Those are proper designations that'll take you a fair amount of time. Some examples are Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, or the giant vampire squid relentlessly jamming its blood funnel into anything that smells like money, also known as Goldman Sachs. Your job is to make a very dirty profession seem reputable, which is to make your client's money yours. Okay, that's all you're doing. You're trying to take as much of your client's money as possible, and you're going to make it seem like you are a reputable, safe place for their money. Whether your client actually makes money or not is irrelevant. It's a bonus if your client makes money because that makes it easier to retain them. But really what you're trained to do, and you can read all the books on Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, they refer to their clients as Muppets because when they sell their client on a deal that's not good for them, on some toxic derivative, they think their client is stupid. They're trying to take as much money from their client as possible. And if they make money for them, good, then that makes it easier to keep the guy. But really all they care about is making money and making their quarter. All right, they are running on a very short-term timeline. In financial sales, the best clients are the ones with the most money and the least intelligence. And to sell financial sales, you're going to be expected to pretend like you know where the market's going. In reality, no one does. So if your client was smart, they probably wouldn't be buying your mutual fund or your medium-term bond or toxic derivatives or, any of these other products that you're selling, because most of what you're selling is going to be garbage. Since they are investing with you, it means that it's going to be a lot easier to put them into derivatives that they don't understand and volatile stocks and high fee, low performing mutual funds. Okay, this is, as you can see, I have very little respect for this industry. It's the only industry in the world where you can get paid for making your client's problem worse. Literally, every industry is designed to solve a problem, but the only industry where you can get paid to not only not solve a problem, but make that problem worse is financial sales. And by that, I mean, you get paid commission on the deal no matter what. So you can lose your clients half of their investment portfolio and still get paid. It's really an amazing industry. But I would caution you against working there because the ethical boundaries that you're going to be expected to cross are going to be so high. Number 7, advertising. Advertising is usually B2C. It's an inside sales or hybrid role. You're looking at about $50,000 to maybe 150, 175 on the top end. It can be an SME or a large corporation. Some examples of products or services are selling conference sponsorships, print advertising, or digital advertising. Usually you don't need a BA, and you could be working for a company like Condé Nast that owns Vogue and all the big magazines, or a pretty cool company like Vice. But the main ad sales jobs are in print advertising, like magazines and newspapers, although that's not going to be around much longer, and digital advertising on websites and sponsorship slots at conferences. So basically your job is selling advertising for your publisher to marketing directors of corporations or account executives at media companies. And that's a really weird thing, because the account executive at the media company is going to be some 22-year-old retarded girl who can't say a sentence without saying like 15 times, and yet she's handling the IBM account, and you've got to sell her on why you should get a part of their marketing budget. It's a very bizarre industry. Most ad budgets are booked by the start of the company's fiscal year, so you can expect the majority of the deals to be booked between October and February. When I worked in ad sales, everyone's going crazy from October till December because they are trying to get in the company's budget for that year. And if you don't get in the company's budget for that year, a lot of the time that's it. You know, they'll have some miscellaneous budget left over for like one-offs and shit, but if you miss that, that could be, you know, you miss one of your big 5 companies' budgets because some dumb bitch at the media company doesn't want to buy with you, you're getting fired because you're going to lose 20% of your revenue. That's just how it goes. Usually there's a lot of client management you need to do because clients, you know, they always have a problem with their ad or they complain about why it's not performing. And usually it's not performing is because advertising doesn't work very well, okay? You can buy advertising on a website, does not do a whole lot, and a lot of the time your job is to tell them why. You know, you sell them, oh, they're saying, hey, we're not getting an increase in sales, and you say, oh, it's target, you know, it's eyeballs, it's your brand awareness and all this shit, when in reality all that matters is an increase in sales. Brand awareness doesn't mean shit, okay? But you know, most marketing managers and stuff like that do not actually understand that, and it's a really fucking stupid industry. With that said, moving on, real estate, number 8. Real estate can be either B2B or B2C, outside sales or hybrid sales. For B2C, the average real estate agent makes $40,000, but on the top level, you can be doing like $400-500, maybe in New York, maybe even more. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those guys are doing $1 million. You can work for a small to mid-sized boutique or a large company, and you're usually selling, for B2C, you're selling residential real estate, and B2B, you're selling commercial real estate. Usually, for B2C, you need to be a woman, and you need the industry designation. And for B2B, that's usually where guys go. Some big companies are Remax or Royal LePage. For residential real estate, your job is to sell homes on behalf of the seller and take a commission on the deal. There are some buyer's agents, but they are relatively rare. You want to get the seller to price the home at market value or below to get a quicker commission, and that's usually a bit difficult because most people don't want to cut prices quickly. They want to, you know, get the highest price possible, and they're willing to wait a year for it, but you want to get your commissions as quick as possible on average and get them to cut the price so that you can get paid. In a hot market, you can make tons of cash, but in a slow market, you'll struggle, and it's a cyclical industry. For commercial real estate, you're selling on behalf of businesses, and you can make really good money. You can make like $300,000-400,000 on a deal, but sometimes you have to wait like a year or two for that to close. And the good thing is, though, real estate is something that you can go out on your own, right? For at least for personal real estate. For commercial, you probably can't unless you have access to a ton of cash. But personal real estate is something that you can learn. You can learn the game and then go out and do your own service-based business, which is what I would recommend. Number 9 is pharmaceutical sales. This is the last industry here. It's B2B outside sales. You're looking at about $75,000 to start to $300,000. It's a large company. What you're selling is prescription drugs. You know, some examples are Merck and Pfizer, some of the biggest companies in the world. Usually the requirements are a BA and being a hot girl, because most drug reps are hot girls because they're selling to doctors who are guys, and doctors want to talk to a hot young girl. But these girls make real dough. Of course, there's a lot of guys doing pharma sales. If you want to see a good example of how this looks, check out the movie Love and Other Drugs with Jake Gyllenhaal. Unfortunately, you'll have to sit through a Jake Gyllenhaal movie, but he's a pharma rep who's selling Viagra, just as Viagra came out. And you'll see how that industry looks. But there's a lot of money to be made in that industry. Generally, you're selling to sales, to doctors' offices and department heads of hospital. And similar to medical devices, but there's less closing and is needed because drugs are less intrusive and they're less expensive up front. So selling pharma is a lot like selling medical or dental, but it's not as cost heavy up front as it would selling, a new dentistry machine. So generally it's thought of as a bit easier than medical or dental.